The gun kicks against Taek-Won's ribs before he even hears the shot. He stumbles backward, hand clutching his side as warmth spreads beneath his fingers. Blood. Too much blood. His men are screaming somewhere behind him, returning fire, but the world tilts sideways and suddenly he's on the ground, concrete cold against his cheek. Rain hammers down, washing red streaks toward the gutter. He needs to move. Needs to run. But his legs won't listen anymore. Makena's fingers are still trembling from the surgery she just finished when she pushes through the hospital's side exit. 14 hours. 14 hours of standing, cutting, suturing, fighting death and losing twice. Her scrubs are stained, her back aches, and all she wants is to collapse into her bed and forget this day ever happened. The parking lot stretches before her, empty except for scattered vehicles gleaming under yellow streetlights. Rain drums against the pavement in sheets, and she pulls her jacket tighter, quickening her pace toward her car. Then she sees him. A man slumped against her tire, head lolled forward, one arm draped across his stomach. Even from 10 feet away, she can see the dark pool spreading beneath him, mixing with rainwater. Her doctor's instinct kicks in before fear can stop her. She runs forward, dropping to her knees beside him, phone flashlight cutting through the darkness. His face is pale, lips tinged blue. She reaches for his neck, feeling for a pulse. Weak. Thready. Dying. That's when she sees it. The tattoo on his forearm, exposed where his sleeve has ridden up. A red dragon coiled around a dagger, scales rendered in exquisite detail. Her breath catches. She's seen that symbol before. On the news. In newspapers. Whispered about in hospital corridors when gang members are brought in with injuries no one dares report. Lee Taek-Won. The Shadow King of Seoul's Underworld. His eyes flutter open, dark and unfocused. He tries to speak, blood bubbling at the corner of his mouth. Don't, he rasps, each word a struggle. Don't call the police. Every rational thought screams at her to walk away. To pretend she never saw him. To let fate decide whether he lives or dies in this parking lot. But her hands are already assessing the wound, pressing against the bullet hole in his side, feeling hot blood pulse between her fingers. The surgeon in her can't unsee what she's seeing. Can't ignore the countdown ticking in her head. 20 minutes, maybe 30 before he bleeds out completely. I'm a doctor, she hears herself say. I'm going to help you. His hand shoots out, gripping her wrist with surprising strength. No hospital, he growls. They'll find me. They'll kill you too. She looks into his eyes and sees something she doesn't expect. Not cruelty. Not the cold emptiness of a killer. Just fear. Human, desperate fear. Then we do this my way, she says. Getting him into her car is a nightmare. He's deadweight, muscles slack, consciousness slipping in and out like a faulty bulb. She loops his arm over her shoulder, gritting her teeth as she drags him toward the passenger seat. He leaves a trail of blood across the concrete. Once he's inside, slumped against the window, she circles to the driver's side and floors the accelerator. Her apartment is 15 minutes away. She makes it in 9. Her hands shake as she unlocks her door, propping him against the wall while she fumbles with the keys. Inside, she lays him across her kitchen table, knocking off a stack of medical journals and a vase that shatters across the floor. No time. She runs to her bedroom, pulling out the emergency medical kit she keeps for volunteer work. Surgical gloves. Antiseptic. Sutures. Not enough. Never enough for something like this. She cuts away his shirt, revealing the entry wound. Lower left abdomen. No exit wound. The bullet is still inside. She probes gently, and he jerks, a guttural sound escaping his throat. Stay still, she commands, surprised by the steel in her own voice. I have to find it. His phone rings, vibrating on the table beside his head. The screen lights up. Jin Suk flashes across the display. He tries to reach for it, but she pushes his hand away. No distractions. Not now. The phone keeps ringing. Once. Twice. Then stops. A text message appears. Boss, we've been ambushed. Park and Sung are down. Where are you? Are you alive? Makena ignores it, focusing on the wound. She makes an incision, widening the entry point, following the bullet's path with her fingers. Blood wells up, and she packs the wound with gauze, buying herself seconds. There. She feels it. The bullet lodged against his lower rib. She reaches for her forceps, hand steady now that she's in her element. One careful pull. 2. The bullet comes free with a wet sound, and she drops it into a bowl. If I die here, he whispers, eyes barely open, they'll come for you too. My enemies. They'll find you. She threads the needle, beginning to suture. Then don't die. By the time she finishes, dawn light is creeping through her windows. She's closed the wound, cleaned and dressed it, started him on antibiotics from her personal stash. His breathing has steadied, color returning to his face. She slumps into the chair beside the table, head in her hands, and passes out before she can process what she's just done. When she wakes, sunlight streams across her face. She jerks upright, disoriented. The kitchen table is empty. Panic floods through her until she sees him sitting on her couch, shirt off, bandages stark white against his skin. He's watching her with an expression she can't read. You're awake, she says stupidly. You saved my life, he replies. His voice is different now. Stronger. Why? Before she can answer, her apartment door explodes inward. A man in a black suit stands in the doorway, gun drawn, eyes scanning the room until they land on Taek-Won. Boss, he says, and there's relief in his voice. Then his gaze shifts to Makena, and the gun follows. Who is she? Makena freezes, hands raised instinctively. Lower your weapon, Jin-suk, Taek-Won says quietly. She saved me. She's under my protection. Jin-suk hesitates, clearly torn. Sir, the Kim syndicate knows you're alive. They have people everywhere. If she knows who you are. I said lower it. The command in Taek-Won's voice makes the air vibrate. Jin-suk complies, but his jaw is tight. No one touches her. That's an order. Jin-suk holsters his gun, but his expression remains hard. We need to move you. This location is compromised the moment I found it. He's not going anywhere, Makena cuts in, finding her voice. That wound will reopen if he moves too much. He needs at least 3 days of rest. Doctor, Jin-suk says, and it's not a compliment, my boss has survived worse. We have facilities. Your facilities got him shot, she snaps. He stays here, or he risks dying from infection or internal bleeding. Your choice. The two of them stare at each other. Finally, Jin-suk looks to Taek-Won, who nods slowly. Post guards outside, Taek-Won says. Discreet. And find out who sold us out. After Jin-suk leaves, the apartment falls into tense silence. Makena busies herself making tea, hands still shaking. You can use the guest room, she says without looking at him. I'll check your wound every 6 hours. Why did you help me? He asks again. You knew who I was. She sets the teacup down hard. Because I'm a doctor. That's what I do. I don't choose who lives or dies based on their tattoos or their reputation. Noble, he says, and there's something like respect in his tone. And foolish. The next 3 days blur together. Makena goes to work, treating patients while her mind races with paranoia. Every person who walks through the emergency room door could be an enemy. Every stranger in the parking lot could be watching her. She comes home exhausted, checks Taek-Won's wound, then collapses into bed. But something strange happens in those 3 days. She finds him reading her medical journals, making notes in the margins. When she comes home on the second night, her dishes are washed and put away. On the third morning, he's made coffee, and it's exactly how she likes it, though she never told him. You're surprisingly domestic for a crime lord, she says, accepting the mug. My mother raised me to be useful, he replies. Before I became what I am now. She studies him over the rim of her cup. In the soft morning light, without the blood and fear and guns, he looks almost normal. Handsome, even. But then she remembers the tattoo, the empire of violence he commands, and the moment passes. What you are now, she echoes. And what's that? A monster, he says simply. By choice and circumstance. Monsters don't say thank you when you refill their water glass, she points out. He almost smiles. Almost. Maybe I'm a well-mannered monster. On the fourth day, everything changes. Makena is in the middle of a consultation when her supervisor pulls her aside. Dr. Zawadi, there are 2 men asking about you at the front desk. They say they're police, but something feels off. I told them you were with a patient. Her blood runs cold. What did they look like? One had a scar across his eyebrow. The other kept touching his jacket, like he was carrying something. Not police. She excuses herself, slipping out through the staff exit, and calls Jin-suk's number from the card he'd forced into her hand. They found me, she says when he answers. At the hospital. Get home. Now. Don't stop for anything. She drives like she's fleeing the devil himself. When she bursts into her apartment, Taek-Won is already up, dressed in black tactical gear, gun holstered at his side. Pack a bag, he says. You're coming with me. No. She stands her ground. I'm not running. I have patience. I have a life here. You had a life, he corrects. The moment you saved me, you became part of this war. The Kim Syndicate doesn't forgive. They don't forget. And they especially don't tolerate anyone who helps their enemies. Then you leave, she shoots back. You disappear, and they'll have no reason to come after me. He steps closer, and she sees something crack in his expression. You think they care about reason? They know you saved me. That's enough. They'll use you to draw me out, or they'll kill you to send a message. Either way, you're dead unless I protect you. I don't need your protection. I need you gone. Too late for that. They stare at each other, the weight of impossible choices pressing down. Finally, she says, I can't abandon my patients. I won't. He nods slowly. Then I'll make sure no one takes you from them. Over the next 2 days, Makena returns to work under Jin-suk's watchful eye. She doesn't see the guards, but she feels them. Shadows that follow her car. Figures stationed at the hospital's corners. It should make her feel safe. Instead, it makes her feel like a prisoner. Then comes the day everything explodes. She's walking to her car after an evening shift when she hears the first gunshot. It cracks through the air like thunder, and suddenly people are screaming, running. She drops behind a concrete pillar as bullets pepper the parking lot. Car windows shatter. Metal sparks where rounds hit steel. Through the chaos, she sees him. Taek-Won, moving like violence incarnate, gun in hand, returning fire at black SUVs that have boxed in the hospital entrance. He's still healing, she thinks distantly. He shouldn't be here. But he is, and he's moving toward her with single-minded purpose. A nurse stumbles out of the hospital, clutching her arm, blood streaming between her fingers. Without thinking, Makena runs from cover, grabbing the woman and dragging her behind a car. Let me see, she says, ripping the sleeve. Through and through. Clean. She uses the woman's scarf as a tourniquet, tying it tight while bullets whine overhead. Get down. Taek-Won's voice, and then he's there, body shielding hers as return fire explodes around them. He takes a hit to his shoulder, jerking backward, but doesn't fall. Instead, he empties his clip into the nearest SUV, and it careens sideways, crashing into another vehicle. We need to move, he says through gritted teeth. Blood soaks through his jacket. Can you drive? She nods, helping the injured nurse toward her car while Taek-Won covers them. Jin-suk appears from nowhere, laying down suppressive fire. They pile into her sedan, and she floors it, tires squealing as they tear out of the parking lot. In the rearview mirror, she watches the hospital recede, flames licking up from one of the crashed vehicles. Her sanctuary. Her workplace. Now a war zone. Where are we going, she demands. Somewhere safe, Taek-Won says. He's pale, leaning against the window. Jin-suk will text coordinates. The drive takes 2 hours, winding through countryside she doesn't recognize. Finally, they arrive at a small house nestled in the mountains, surrounded by trees. It's beautiful in a lonely way. Isolated. Inside, she sets the injured nurse on the couch, checking her vitals. Stable. Then she turns to Taek-Won, who's leaving blood drops across the hardwood floor. Sit, she orders. Now. He complies without argument, and that worries her more than anything. She cuts away his jacket and shirt, revealing the bullet wound in his shoulder. This is the second time I've had to dig metal out of you, she says, reaching for her kit. I'm a repeat customer, he tries to joke, but winces as she probes the wound. Why did you come, she asks quietly, working to remove the bullet. You should have stayed hidden. Let your men handle it. They were there for you, he says. Because of me. How could I not come? She doesn't have an answer for that. She removes the bullet, sutures the wound in silence, then bandages him with efficient movements. When she's done, she sits back, suddenly exhausted. This can't keep happening. I can't keep pulling bullets out of you. I know. He reaches up, and his fingers brush her cheek. She realizes she's crying. When did that start? I'm sorry, he says. For bringing this into your life. It's too late for sorry. Her voice breaks. People could have died today. Did die, maybe. Because of us. Because of me, he corrects. This is my world. My war. You just got caught in the crossfire. Then end it, she pleads. Whatever this is, whatever you're fighting for, is it worth all this blood? He's quiet for a long moment. Rain begins to fall outside, pattering against the windows. I don't know anymore, he finally says. For years, I thought power was everything. Territory. Respect. Fear. But now. He meets her eyes. No one's ever risked their life for me. Not twice. Not like you have. She swallows hard. No one's ever made me feel unsafe and protected at the same time. The words hang between them, fragile and dangerous. She should take them back. Should rebuild the walls between doctor and patient, between her world and his. But she's so tired of walls. So tired of pretending she doesn't feel the pull between them, this impossible connection forged in blood and rain. He leans forward slowly, giving her time to pull away. She doesn't. When his lips meet hers, it's gentle, almost questioning. She kisses him back, hands finding the unmarred skin of his back, careful of his wounds. It's not desire, exactly. It's something rawer. Recognition. Two people who've seen death too many times, finding something alive in each other. When they break apart, she rests her forehead against his. This is insane, she whispers. I know. You're going to get me killed. I'll die first. She laughs, a broken sound. That's not reassuring. They spend the night in that mountain house, Makena tending to the nurse, Taek-Won making calls in hushed tones. She learns that the house belonged to his mother, that she died when he was 17, that everything he became was to protect what she left behind. He learns that Makena came to Seoul running from her own ghosts, seeking purpose in a place where no one knew her story. By morning, Jin-suk arrives with news. The Kim syndicate wants a meeting. They're willing to negotiate terms. It's a trap, Makena says immediately. Of course it's a trap, Taek-Won agrees. But it's also the only way to end this without more bloodshed. They'll keep coming until one of us is dead or we reach an accord. Then I'm coming with you, she insists. Absolutely not. You don't get to decide that. If this is about me, if they're using me as leverage, then I deserve to be there. They argue for an hour, but she doesn't budge. Finally, he relents with the condition that she stays in the car with Jin-suk while he goes inside alone. The meeting is set for an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul. As they drive through the city, Makena sees her life from a week ago reflected in every hospital they pass. How simple it was. How safe. Would she go back if she could? She doesn't know anymore. At the warehouse, Taek-Won turns to her before getting out. If things go wrong, Jin-suk will get you somewhere safe. Don't argue. Don't wait for me. Just go. You're coming back, she says firmly. Because if you don't, I'll bring you back from death myself just to kill you again. He smiles, real and warm. I believe you would. She watches him walk into the warehouse, flanked by his men. Minutes tick by like hours. She counts her heartbeats, trying to stay calm. Then she hears it. Gunfire. Shouting. The sound of violence erupting inside. "We need to go," Jin-suk says, starting the engine. "No." Makena grabs her medical bag. "He's in there. People are hurt. Doctor, my orders." She's already out of the car, running toward the warehouse. Jin-suk curses and follows. Inside is chaos. Bodies on the ground. The smell of gunpowder and blood. She finds Taek-Won behind a concrete pillar, holding his side. Not shot, she realizes with relief. Just aggravated his previous wound. "You weren't supposed to come in," he says, but there's no anger in his voice. "When have I ever done what I'm supposed to?" She drags him toward cover as bullets whine past. One of his men is down, bleeding from his leg. She applies pressure, barking orders to Jin-suk for supplies from her bag. The firefight ends when police sirens wail in the distance. Both sides scatter like roaches, leaving behind evidence of their war. Makena manages to stabilize the injured men before Jin-suk loads them all into a van and they disappear into Seoul's maze of streets. That night, back at the mountain house, Taek-Won finds her on the porch, staring at the stars. "You should hate me," he says, sitting beside her. "I should," she agrees. "But I don't. I hate what you do. I hate the world you live in. But you." She trails off, searching for words. "You're more than the worst thing you've ever done." "That's generous." "It's true." She faces him. "I see who you could be. Who you are, underneath all the violence. And it breaks my heart because I know you can't stay in both worlds. You have to choose." He takes her hand. "What if I choose wrong?" "Then at least you chose." The next morning, she wakes to find him gone. There's a note on the kitchen table in his precise handwriting: "When this war ends, I'll come back for the woman who saw more in me than my sins. Until then, stay alive." That's an order. T. She crumples the note in her fist, something between rage and grief burning in her chest. Weeks pass. Makena throws herself into work, treating patients, saving lives, trying to forget the feel of his lips on hers or the way he looked at her like she was something sacred. Jin-suk checks in occasionally, always from a distance. "Boss is alive," he says once. "That's all I can tell you." It's not enough, but it has to be. Then one night, she's called back to the hospital for an emergency. Mass casualty event. Explosion at a nightclub. She scrubs in, prepared for the worst. The patient on her table is covered in burns and shrapnel wounds. It takes her 3 seconds to recognize him beneath the damage. Taek-Won. Unconscious. Barely breathing. "Doctor, we need you focused," her supervisor says. She nods, pushing everything else aside. Just another patient. Just another life to save. She works for 6 hours straight, removing shrapnel, repairing damage, fighting against the odds. Twice his heart stops. Twice she brings him back. When it's over, when he's finally stable, she collapses in the hallway outside the ICU. Jin-suk finds her there, and for the first time, she sees fear in his eyes. "He went after the Kim Syndicate's headquarters," Jin-suk explains. "Alone. Said he was ending this war one way or another." "Idiot," she whispers. "Brave, stupid idiot." Days pass. Taek-Won drifts in and out of consciousness. She sits with him when she can, monitoring his recovery. On the 5th day, his eyes flutter open, finding her immediately. "You're alive," she says, and her voice cracks. "You sound disappointed," he manages, lips cracking into a smile. "I should be furious with you." Tears stream down her face. "Running off like that. Getting yourself nearly killed. Guess I owe you my life twice now." 3 times, actually. "Your heart stopped twice during surgery." He reaches for her hand, grip weak but insistent. "The war's over. Kim's dead. His lieutenants scattered. It's done." "And you?" she asks. "What now?" Before he can answer, police flood the hospital. Someone tipped them off. Jin-suk creates a diversion, and in the chaos, Taek-Won vanishes from his bed. When Makena returns to check on him, the room is empty except for a note on her desk: when the rain falls again, look in the parking lot. Months pass. Summer turns to autumn. Makena testifies that she treated an unknown patient who left before she could identify him. The police investigation stalls. Life returns to normal, or what passes for normal now. She thinks about him constantly. Wonders if he's alive. If he thinks about her too. If the connection they forged was real or just trauma bonding. She tells herself it's better this way. Cleaner. But her heart doesn't believe it. Then comes the night shift, 3 months later. 14 hours of surgery, 2 lost patients, 1 saved. She walks out into the parking lot, exhausted and emotionally raw. It's raining. She stops, remembering his note. Her eyes scan the lot until she sees it. A black car idling under the streetlight. The window rolls down, and there he is. Taek-Won, alive and whole, watching her with an expression that makes her heart stop. She should walk away. Return to her safe, normal life. But her feet carry her forward until she's standing beside the car, rain soaking through her scrubs. "Hi," he says, and it's such a normal word that she almost laughs. "Hi yourself. I told you I'd come back." "You did." She searches his face, seeing something different there. Peace, maybe. The news says Lee Taek-Won died in the nightclub explosion. That his body was never recovered. "He did die," he says quietly. "That man, that life, it's gone. I'm just someone else now. Someone trying to be better." "And who's that?" "Someone who wants a second chance. If you'll give him one." She thinks about everything they've been through. The blood and bullets and impossible choices. The way he shields her body with his own. The gentleness in his hands when he touches her. The men beneath the monster. "Get out of the car," she says. He does, standing in the rain before her. She reaches up, touching his face, making sure he's real. Then she kisses him, and it feels like coming home and jumping off a cliff all at once. When they break apart, she says, "This is crazy." "I know. We barely know each other." "I know. You're probably going to drive me insane." He smiles. "Probably." She kisses him again because words aren't enough. Because sometimes fate doesn't knock gently on your door, it crashes through bleeding and desperate, demanding you make impossible choices. And sometimes you say yes anyway. "So what now?" she asks. "Now." He tucks a wet strand of hair behind her ear. "Now we figure it out. Together. If you want." She looks at him, this man who was supposed to be a monster, and sees only possibility. "I want." They stand in the rain, 2 people who saved each other in more ways than one, and for the first time in months, Makena feels the future stretch before her not as something to fear, but as something to hope for. Behind them, the hospital glows with fluorescent light. Ahead, the city sprawls in neon and shadow. And between them, fragile and fierce, is the promise of whatever comes next. If you made it this far, you've witnessed one of the most unexpected love stories born from chaos and rain. Hit that subscribe button to never miss stories like this. Drop a comment telling us what you thought of Makena and Taek-Won's journey. Would you have saved him? And don't forget to like this video if you want more tales where fate refuses to follow the rules. Sometimes the best stories are the ones that bleed their way into your heart and refuse to let go. Until next time, stay curious, stay captivated, and remember, some connections are worth every risk.